Hello there and welcome to episode 1 of my new tutorial series for EU5. This one is for beginners and we're going to cover everything you need to know to get into the game, understand the mechanics, and start having fun with it. I will cover in each episode a mechanic deep enough to understand it, and for today the main topic will be a basic understanding of the user interface, what we're doing here, but the main focus will be on earning money and on preventing rebellions. Because honestly, once you have a positive cash flow and you understood that you're supposed to keep your folks happy, you have already a lot of tools in your hand to explore the game on your own pace. That's the goal for episode 1. And every upcoming episode, I'll be diving into other topics, so feel free in the comment section to go crazy and tell me what you'd like to see. So, with that being said, let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is get a basic setup that covers all the necessary things in a fundamental manner, which gives us time to deal with it later. Because, as many Paradox games, there's a lot of small decisions that make a lot of small things happen here, but we don't need to master everything to get in a positive direction. So for starters, keep an eye out on your money, especially the number below that, currently negative, and keep an eye out on these bars. Once they turn red, rebellion is in planning. All the other metrics in here, we're going to take them when we need them. Okay, next up, notifications. As in any Paradox game, we're going to get buried below these, so we're going to right click over all the things that we don't want to have. I will now go over a couple of small things before we go into how to earn money. That's the basic things. I'll try to cover it as fast as I can. So, possible rivals. Try to get yourself a rival. You just click that and you get to select something in your vicinity. Select a small rival, you don't want a big one, especially when you're not knowing what you're doing, and then you're golden. Rivals give you the opportunity for mini quests and advantages, and it's really a waste if you don't pick them. But more about that on another day. Reforms. Reforms are basically passive perks that boost up your empire, and if there is a reform capable, you should be doing it because it just enhances whatever you do. We're going to start with agricultural cultivation because food production is pretty useful, and I'll be talking about that once we go into money earning. For now, that's good. Pick up whatever you want if you want to pick something else. Over the course of the game, we get opportunity to take new reforms and such. For now, that's all we can do. Diplomacy, I will not go into that for now. Just note that the white doves here are your diplomats. Each full number here allows you 1 diplomatic action. So currently we have 5 diplomatic actions banked. That's all for now. Then the cabinet. The cabinet is basically a set of passive boosters that we can configure to our own liking. So when we left click into there, we can now select what the cabinet is supposed to do. They do that for free, and therefore don't let them run empty. We're going to call them to develop the provinces, because development, let's go here, is just enhancing everything you do in your cities. And if you don't know what to do, development is usually a good choice, because look at the incremental increase here. This is really going forward slowly. The other cabinet slot, we're going to go for province control. Control is determining how much of the taxes are landing in your wallet, in short. Of course, there's more to it, but for now, it's enough to keep it like that. The cabinet slots can be reorganized however you want to. Just left click and pick something else. And if you pick the empty portrait, you can also appoint one of your people to make the effect stronger. For now, we don't want that because it costs money, and I don't want to spend money into something minuscule like that. Always try to spend your money as effective as possible. It's hard to come by. Okay, so science. This is something where you just select a couple of technologies, put them into the queue, and call it a day for now. Technology trees in this game are pretty big. There's 6 of them in total, and yeah, I'll be talking about that in a separate video because technology has its own going. In short terms, just pick something, keep them busy. That's the most important part. We're going to be exploring that later. Obviously, we can increase all manner of things in our empire with science. It goes without saying. Okay, so we can now ignore these, ignore those, and we need a commander for our navy. You just click in there and you select the best person for now. We'll leave it like that. Okay, so for that, let's right click these because we're going to cover that later. And the first thing that I want to do and show you is automation. What I always automate, personally, is trade. In this menu, though, you can automate whatever is feeling for you like too much to handle. Just keep in mind, though, whatever you handle manually is usually handled better, because the computer is only as good, so and so good. With one exception, though, trade and balance, I feel like the computer does a good deal with that. I'll explain to you in a hot minute why. So, now we have everything set up for the moment. The only thing that's not working out is our income. We're negative still. So let's talk about how we earn money in EU5. The economy tab, is where we go to. Here we see all the things that we need to see. The balance ledger is where we can configure our income versus our expenses. As you see there, we have a lot of money spending on the forts, and we are currently buying food. We have to spend money on buildings. We have to spend money on the court. These are all necessary expenses, and we can't change that too much. On the other side, we have our income. For one, we can mint new money, and I personally recommend to mint money always at least to the point where you are on a net zero with your inflation, because at the end of the day, as long as we don't have inflation, we can keep it at that point. For a beginner, that's all we need to do. We can play around with this slider in the future a little bit more. Then come the taxes. Here, another automation cogwheel if you want to go for it. Personally, don't like to do that. The taxes for each stratum of our empire, that's the estates, we can select differently. This number here, though, is the most important one. This is the equilibrium point where their happiness will go towards to. If we change the taxes upwards, you see that it eventually reaches a red point. We don't want that. I personally like to go for the taxes as high as it allows me to go for. Usually I stop at 52 or something like that to maintain a slight buffer in the positive. Mind you that over the course of the game, events will happen which force you to reduce and increase the happiness of your estates. Therefore, don't tax them too harshly. If you go for a 50% mark, you don't have any buffer whatsoever. Rebellions take years, though, to form, so don't worry too much about that. So this is one part where we earn our money, taxing. Taxes happen out of everything which we do in our empire. We have, when we click in here, a overview of all the buildings that are in these areas. Some of them are not developed at all. This is an empty one, and some of them are fairly developed already because they have a city and such in them. As you see there, we have a lot of different things that we can do here. All in all, this here, this number, the tax base, is where we get our money from. And it's all determined by the total sum of productive things happening in our cities. A percentile amount of that we get as taxes. In short, if our cities are productive, we will also get a lot of tax income. That's one part how it works. The other part how we earn money is via trading. Trading is interacting with other markets than ours. If we zoom out here, you see the light blue area is the Brugge market. This is the area where we are located at, and everything inside here is available for our people. Everything produced in this area we can directly buy for our buildings. So if you, to give you a more practical example, here we can buy things, we can build buildings, among other things. So for example, the Paper Makers Guild, if we go into the tooltip here, takes fiber crops and lumber and makes paper out of it. If you don't produce locally that stuff, you're going to go and check out if the market here has it for you. Then they buy it, and then they produce with that. So far, so good. There's also something called trade capacity. Trade capacity, that's what we automated a moment ago, by the way, is our capability to interact now with the other markets. You see, it's London market, Paris market, Köln market, Nuremberg, Lübeck, and so on and so forth. These can have better prices than our own markets. So for example, here suggested imports for profit. Here we can import something like saffron from a different place cheaper than from our own place, and then we will earn money with that because the difference will be flooded back into our pocket. Mind you, that all these things are happening automatically. If I build a building here, I had a filter there. So if I build a building here, you see that the profits here are already calculated. The game automatically checks how much will it cost to buy the raw materials from the local market, and how much will I earn if I sell it back to the local market. That's pretty much how it works. But these numbers here don't mean that you will get that into your wallet afterwards. Nope. This number here reflects the increase in the tax base. So only a fraction of these numbers will land in your wallet. That is very, very important to note. This is why we shouldn't build any low profit things whatsoever. So we can now build a lot of things. As you saw there's all these buildings here that we can build inside our cities. Here's the direct access to the things in your city. That's why I was in the wrong city there. I can't build there if it's not mine. So if the list is ever empty like that, that's because you are on the wrong side. Here, this is the basic button to access all buildings available in the city, and here we can filter it down to the separate people that work here. Mind you, in this game, workers are necessary for everything. And if you click here, you see which kind of building is compatible with the workers in question. We have 21,000 people in Den Haag, which can work, but only 2,600 of them are capable of doing the work here. If people are down here available, eventually they'll promote up. So if you build a building and there's no workers available yet, they will migrate slowly upwards there. The most important thing is to check out if the bottom line, if there's people there which can actually promote upwards. So there's one more thing, and that's regional gathering operations, hidden behind this little button here, RGOs in short. RGOs are the local specialty, if you want to say so. If you mouse over these, you see in that button a profit per level icon. This is the amount of money added to your tax base if you level up this place once. All the buildings in this game, by the way, can also be leveled up. You see here the threshold for that. But usually, regional gathering operations are way to go. They are the most profitable things compared to the buildings, except for city buildings, but more about that on a different day. Generally speaking, you want to always try to build the item with the highest profit available, because that brings you the most money. With one exception though, there's one thing that's really important to note and keeping an eye out on. As you see here, here's the provincial food area. It's negative. If you look over here, that's the northern area of our land, here the provincial food is positive. This is because we have two different regions in our empire, and regions all have their own food stockpile. If this is negative, we need to import food, and currently we're paying a lot of money for that food. There's a really nice thing about food. Here we don't see much profit if we increase that one. It is really, really low on the outside, but in practice, it's not. Game doesn't show you the full numbers here. So we're going to spend our first money into that. As you see here, the building costs are quite heavy. I left click that, and now I ordered for the first time something. And here, we paid most of our money. So I will now unpause the game for the first time. We are waiting now for that thing to be built. Increasing your food production is really, really powerful. For one, you want to have every one of your provinces at least positive in the provincial food income, because this way you will save yourself from spending money for food imports that are not necessary. The other thing is, once this number goes positive, you will automatically sell the excess food, and instead of having to pay for food, you will earn food. And they will earn money by exporting food, which is really, really good. So the automated trading here, always keep an eye out to have this bar here fully turned up. And now the computer automatically each month looks for the best trade to do with your current trade capacity. You can do that manually. But I gotta say, for one, you have to have a really solid understanding about what your empire needs. And the other thing is, you have to do that daily, basically, or monthly, not daily, monthly, to optimize it. And the computer does a decent job at that. I still think that a human could do better because the AI automation is not planning ahead as much as a human would do, but this is decent. As you see here, we are now earning positive income. That is because we have now a solid trade income, but still we have a drain on food. But generally speaking, if you increase your food income properly, you will eventually have a net positive income. The other thing that is easy to overlook is the difference between cities and regular counties. As you see here, Leiden doesn't have a city. The star-shaped things here, and those are towns. Towns enable a county to build new buildings. This whole set of buildings here, the guilds and such, are not available here. They are providing sophisticated services. But among these, also something else very, very valuable and important, and that is marketplaces. Marketplaces increase the trade capacity of their owners quite substantially, a full unit per marketplace. And as you see here, a city can host 4 levels of marketplace. Each level is like building the same building another time, which means with each level of increasing the marketplace, we will gain a full unit of trade capacity here, which allows us to earn even more money. So, in short, to get yourself a solid start, let's take that for now, and that's how quickly you see how quickly these people get unhappy. To get yourself a positive net income, try to earn enough food. Try to max out your trade capacity by maxing out the marketplaces in your cities, but forget about the rural areas. They also have buildings like the market village, which give you trade capacity, but only a tenth of what a marketplace will provide for the same price as a marketplace. That's a bad deal. That's totally a bad deal. One last word about increasing the regional gathering operations. As you see there, once the building is finished, it takes a while for the people to promote up into their into the business, marked by the green and the red lines here. They will grow slowly into their business, and it's absolutely worth investing someplace else until that is finished. That's why I built a marketplace over here. Den Haag has enough people to fill another marketplace. Always try to make sure that you have the amount of workers available, and don't invest too heavily only into one place at the same time, because people have to develop into the new things that you provide them, and that always takes a little bit of time. So all in all, once the marketplace here in Den Haag is ready, we can maybe upgrade this one again, and if the workers for the marketplaces in Den Haag run out, we can go over to Dordrecht and upgrade the marketplace there, and once that's done, we go back to Amsterdam, and then we can go back to Den Haag. All in all, what's really important is spread your effort. That's really important. So let's sum it up very quickly. Try to keep your net positive food income, to keep your net food income positive, sorry. Try to max out your trade capacity and try to only build buildings that have a really juicy profit turnover. Mind with everything you do that the regional gathering operations, the resource gathering operations, usually are among the very best things you can invest into, and only overproductions of food get automatically sold. Overproductions of all other goods need to be requested to make profit. So if we produce tons of weapons, and nobody needs weapons, we won't be earning any money. Therefore, food is a low income, has a low profit, but it is an assured profit, and it's always costly as hell to buy food from the market. Okay, so if something like this here happens when your estates go unhappy, one last thing before I end today's episode, you have over here in the government section also the option to give your estates specific rights, the privileges here. Mind you though, revoking these is usually much harder than implementing them. You always see what kind of impact it has for your empire and for the happiness of the other folks, as you see there. What makes one part of your estates happy always makes the other folks unhappy. But as long as the bar is red but no rebellion is planned, you don't need to worry about anything. If you want to make them happier faster again, you can crank down the taxes. But as you see there, it does take so much tax reduction, and they don't really react to that. The slider doesn't really change. That is, by the way, why you have to tax these people accordingly. As long as the standing is between 40 and 50%, don't worry about anything. As soon as it dips below 40%, don't worry too much about it either. You can always use your cabinet to quench the rebellion, and usually there comes a event along that fixes things. In the worst case scenario, grant them privileges, or if you have the money, you can also bribe them. Works out too. And as a last word, if you ever run out of money, you can loan money. You will automatically loan money from the estates. You can also manually do this if you want to upgrade your wallet like that. You will have to pay debts and interest on that though, and this will weigh you down, so be careful about loans. Last thing about this department, this is the button which upgrades rural areas into cities. I looked for it way too long, that's why I wanted to show it to you in the first episode. This way you can upgrade a rural region to a city with all the benefits that it has. It also has downsides, but enough information for one video. With the information in this video, you are now capable of running your economy. You don't have any diplomacy running. That is one thing that we will cover in the next episode. I had to make a couple of decisions here. And yeah, but you will pretty much be able to upgrade your empire like that. In a future episode, I will talk deeper about how the whole economy works in detail. This was only the surface level, but it should suffice to get you somewhere. Alright, thanks for watching. Leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, drop me in the comment sections if you have anything you want to add into these topics, or if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer them, obviously. Feel free to donate via Ko-fi or any other given means, YouTube memberships, or whatever tickles your fancy. I'm really grateful for all the help that I get. I can use all the help that I can get. And big thanks to all of you supporting me. And a big thanks for watching this episode up until the very end. See you all on the next one.